is getting underway. Plus, residents in this apartment complex say they are stranded in their homes because an elevator broke. But before we get to all that, let's get to Daisy with the weather.
Hey China, good morning. Good morning to all of our viewers. Take a look outside. This is through our Rose City Sky Cam. We are dealing with foggy conditions this morning with above that freezing degree mark in terms of our current temperatures, currently 33 degrees. But with that fog, we're not alone. Many of us along the entire Willamette Valley are dealing with some low visibility, less than a quarter of a mile of visibility in Kelso, Scappoose, here in Portland, down in Aurora, Salem, Corvallis, and Eugene. But it's really not just us. This is actually spanning really across the entire Willamette Valley, including parts of central and southern Willamette Valley. Now, we do have a dense fog advisory lasting all the way until right about noon, of course, in effect right now. And we're hoping that the fog will kind of fade away a little bit sooner than, of course, noon. But if you are planning to drive down the I-5 corridor, just keep this in mind. We're expecting to see 50 degrees by noon and cooling down just 2 degrees by 5 o'clock. Partly sunny skies, and then we'll be seeing increasing cloud coverage. But we'll talk more about that 7-day forecast and when rain will officially come back into our neck of the woods. China?
Daisy, thank you. We start this half hour down in the town of Independence. Police there confirmed 3 people are dead following a small plane crash. Police and FAA investigators are now working this crash. Details are very limited right now, but investigators say the plane crashed into power lines just before 5 o'clock last night. We don't know if that plane had just taken off or had been in the air for a while before it crashed on Hoffman Road. The crash sparked a small fire and knocked out power to hundreds of homes. Fire crews had to wait to fight the fire while Pacific Power shut down electricity in the area. About 200 homes are still without service this morning. Pacific Power says service should be restored this afternoon. In Portland's Old Town, tenants at an apartment complex feel stranded after the apartment's only elevator broke a week and a half ago. Thomas Schultz has the story.
Residents say the 4-story assisted living apartment houses 50 tenants. And with the building's elevator broken, they've struggled to run errands or see family and friends.
Torture. Just torturous.
For more than a week, Babs Jacobson and some of her neighbors confined to wheelchairs have rarely been able to get outside. Recently, they taped signs to their windows signaling for help.
Feels like I'm in jail, trapped.
Jacobson has an aortic aneurysm. If it ruptured, she could have internal bleeding. And without a working elevator, there's only one evacuation lift to get to her 3rd-floor apartment. One chair for around 50 tenants.
The most of us are in walkers, wheelchairs, and electric chairs.
And this isn't the first time the sole elevator has broken. Jacobson says it's been out of commission 4 times in her year and a half here.
I feel like we're being abused.
She and others are worried something bad could happen.
That won't, I mean, if we had a fire, I don't think we could get everybody out.
And it's just hard. There's quite a few people who have a hard time getting up and down.
Diane White has lived at these apartments for 6 years. She has congestive heart failure. A broken elevator has made it difficult for her to exercise and see family.
Kind of sucks.
And while tenants wait for the elevator to be fixed, Jacobson is looking to move out of Old Town to somewhere without persistent issues.
It's very dangerous not to have a working elevator with handicapped people.
Now, the apartment complex says they understand why tenants are frustrated, though they're doing everything they can to make repairs as quickly as possible. They purchased new parts and applied for grants for a second elevator, and they expect the elevator to be fixed by Monday. Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
A suspect is behind bars accused of stealing food from a Western Washington food bank. Perishable food was taken from the refrigerator. The suspect took about 25 hams, 600 gallons of milk, and enough eggs for 600 households. All expensive products for a food bank, of course. He also took 6 cases of yogurt, cases of sour cream, and cottage cheese.
So it looks like he hit it maybe with a sledgehammer. Anything that he could have wanted, he could have come in the front door.
Food bank leaders say this has never happened, let alone on a year like this where they're already stretched thin. The timing was brutal. The theft came on the same morning that they launched their holiday distribution. A suspect is now in custody, but food bank is left with potentially thousands in repairs. But they say no one is going to hinder their holiday spirit of giving. Turning now to our homeless crisis. The issue that has plagued Portland is also playing out on the coast. Homeless people with nowhere to go, and they're still recovering after losing everything in last week's storms. The city's limited resources are making it difficult for not only those living outside, but neighbors too. Here's Blair Best.
This coastal homeless camp, hidden behind a seaside recycling center, is a shell of what it once was.
Everybody's getting soaked all the time.
The aftermath of recent storms are not just seen, but felt.
Water was running right through my tent. I would have nothing again.
All the trash floats, so it floated towards the river, into the bushes, and everywhere.
Now, with the storms in Seaside come not just the flooding, but extreme high winds that, as you can see, just rip the tents apart, just adding to the damage.
When you got that much water around you, I mean, it was actually scary.
The city is now moving the homeless people a few hundred feet away to higher ground.
As the closer they get to our facility, the worse it gets.
Doc Shaw runs the auto repair shop next to this new site.
Nobody ever said that they were moving this here. It seems like the city has done this over and over again.
It wouldn't have done us much good to get input from the neighborhood because we understand the neighborhood's not going to want it, and we can understand that.
Seaside City Manager notes they're feeling the pressure from all sides to quickly find a solution.
The state has required us to have a location for our homeless to locate, and so we're complying with the state's mandate.
In that new site, are there enough spaces for all the homeless people?
Right now, no, we're in the process of transitioning.
Next week, the city hopes to have room for 7 more tents in the new site, the one that's not prone to flooding, along with buying other land for even more tents.
There needs to be a few more resources.
Like a permanent overnight warming center, something Lindsay Morrison, who runs a local nonprofit, says Seaside desperately needs, but there isn't enough funding.
You can't count on them to be open when a storm comes.
The only place that's consistent would be erecting their own tent in our campsite.
An answer people like Doc are tired of hearing.
Some customers have went away because they're worried about what's happening. So I'm losing business. When are we going to stop just throwing something at it and start looking for the right fix?
Blair Best, KGW News.
A University of Oregon researcher took part in a recent review of research on public policy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It focused on issues like social distancing, vaccinations, and misinformation. In April of 2020, a group of researchers published a highly influential paper with 19 recommendations surrounding COVID-19. It was cited thousands of times by governments, researchers, and public figures. And the new paper released this month evaluated the original research to see if it was accurate and found 16 relevant behavioral concepts.
What we did is we looked at what everybody around the world had studied and had published. And so there were lots of papers on vaccines, on hand washing, on social distancing, on like that whole variety of pandemic related behaviors that you've heard about. They showed up in the papers. And we reviewed all of those papers during that time period to see how accurate we had been in our predictions about what behavioral science would work in getting people to take on those behaviors.
This will now help researchers and policymakers respond to future pandemics and disasters. Hopefully those don't happen, but should be prepared.